I'm hoping to talk about what we're planning to do this Tuesday. I'll just take a few minutes to do that. And I think that there are also some people on this call who are kind of unfamiliar with the campaign, so I'll just give a brief overview of who we are and what we do. And then I'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing next Tuesday, the Social Media Day of Action, and I'll finish up by actually just kind of sharing a few tips generally on how to use social media when you're running a campus campaign or when you're organizing on campus. And we'll leave some time for questions at the end. So if you have any questions, if you just save them for like the last 10 minutes of the webinar, that would be awesome. So again, for anyone who's new to these calls or to the campaign, my name is Jake Tabor. I'm a Clean Energy Fellow with Environment America. And we are, for those not familiar with Environment America, we're a national environmental advocacy and action organization. We work on clean energy, but we also work on clean air issues, clean water issues. And so, we work on a number of different campaigns. The 100% Renewable Campuses campaign is, that's the main part of my work. And it's a campaign that we've been running for a couple of years. Essentially, we're working to involve as many students as possible with this work by getting them to advocate for their campuses to commit to 100% renewable energy. And so we're working with students to, launch campaigns in their campus, take action however they can. And we're really trying to expand that as much as possible this semester. So I'll give you just like a little bit more background on the campaign. We obviously know that as a country in general, we need to transition to 100% renewable energy if we're going to avoid the worst effects of climate change. And we know that college campuses are actually pretty good examples. They can set a pretty strong example for their states and their communities. They're these really big energy users. They're these really important institutions. And when they make a commitment to use 100% renewable energy and move entirely away from fossil fuels for their energy use, they can set a pretty great example. So, college presidents, chancellors, boards of trustees, and sustainability directors, they're the ones who are going to be making decisions on this. And they have a chance to really make their school, your schools, a leader in our country's necessary transition to clean power. And getting these people, these decision makers, to make the right decision is going to require hundreds, even thousands of students, faculty, administrators, and other community members, to raise their voices and really let the administration know that they want their university to commit to move entirely away from fossil fuels and towards 100% renewables. And so that brings me to the Social Media Day of Action and why this is so important. So, social media, like it or not, is one of the major forums for discussion, debate, and visibility on a college campus. So, obviously, it's not everything, but, while we're gathering petitions, running tables, and making class announcements, we need to make our voices heard on students and administrators' Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram feeds as well. And on Tuesday, February 19th, next Tuesday, we'll be having students post and get their classmates to post about the fact that their school should commit to 100% renewable energy. To make sure that your schools know what we're doing, what we're talking about, you'll tag the school in your posts on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And we'll join other students across the country in making noise on this issue by using the hashtag 100RECampus. And just a bit more background on how this can actually tangibly make a difference. It's pretty critical to use this form of discussion, social media, to build critical visibility for the issue in the campus community. You can think about it like putting posters up all over campus. The more posters you put up, the more people know about this issue. And the more people know about this issue, the easier it'll be to organize students around the issue. And just thinking more generally about the higher ed community and the community of presidents and chancellors and sustainability directors, the more students across the country that raise our voices on this issue, the more that those people in the higher ed community will start to take notice. So I'll just go into a little bit more detail on how you can take part. Everyone who's a part of this webinar and everyone else who RSVP'd, I'll be sending over basically a list of a memo with some sample posts and some graphics that you can use. You can obviously craft your own posts, but these are a good place to get started. I'll also send a memo on just kind of a how-to, some different ways in which you can get involved. If you only have a couple of minutes to take part in this, you can, yourself post on social media and get your friends to do it. If you have all day, you can do something like quite a bit larger. And I'll give you a few examples of what that could look like, what you could be doing on campus next Tuesday. So, if you are part of an organization, student government association, environmental organization, you can post on your personal page, the organizational page, and you can have your other members of the group post on their personal pages. You can use one of our sample posts that I'm going to send around. You can tag your school, and you can use the hashtag 100RECampus. That's a great way to get started. You can also ask other student groups to post. So if you, are running a campaign with other student groups, if they're, members of a coalition that you're working with, if you just, work with other student groups and, over the normal course of your advocacy, you can reach out to those student groups and have them post on their pages and ask their membership to post as well. And if you want them to do that, it's always best to reach out ahead of time. So reaching out this weekend would be a great start. You can, if you have a list of students who subscribe to your emails, you can send out an email to your own list about posting. If you've been gathering petitions, you can send out, and you've been gathering emails from those students, you can send out an email to that list. Finally, probably the, something that's a little bit more difficult, but certainly something that would, really build a lot of visibility in a short amount of time, is to run a table and to ask the people that you're stopping at that table to post on social media. So in a lot of cases, we set up tables, or we're out in the quad with clipboards, asking people to sign our petition to ask the university to commit to 100% renewables. But while you're tabling, and you could even be gathering petitions at the same time, you could set up a table on Tuesday, and you could ask for students to take out their phone and post on social media using, again, the hashtag 100RECampus. And also making sure to tag the university, because the university or whoever's taking care of the social media account, they see these posts, especially if you're tagging the school. So, a lot of the major principles, of running a table still apply here. Making sure that your table is visible, creating signs, standing up in front of the table, waving people down with a smile and a wave, and saying something like, can you take a quick action for clean energy or to fight climate change? But, the second ask would be, hey, look, we're trying to get as much visibility around this issue as possible. Can you quickly take out your phone and make a quick post to social media? So that's a little bit more detail on the action and what's involved with that. So what I want to do now, and again, the part of this presentation where I'm talking, I want to kind of keep it as quick as possible so I can leave some time for your questions. But I want to just kind of go through some general tips for using social media to continue to boost the visibility of the issue of 100% renewables on your campus. So when it comes to Facebook, a great way to build visibility for your campaign on Facebook is to create a page for your campaign. Let's say I was organizing it at my alma mater, Tufts University. I created a page that says Tufts for 100% renewable energy. That's a great thing for students to follow, for students to pay attention to, for you to continue to update. You want to update that page somewhere around 3 times a week. On Facebook, videos perform best. In terms of engagement, in terms of the people that actually stop and engage with that content. Links also perform well. People share. You can see in the example that I have over here on the right, Environment America, our national page, sharing a very interesting article about polar bears invading village spaces because of climate change. And then finally, photos, any kind of visual that you have is also performs quite well, relative to just posting text. So whenever you can, you want to get some kind of content up on Facebook. People are scrolling through their timelines pretty fast, and you want to make sure to have something that they can actually stop and engage with. Again, you want to tag your school. And when it comes to Facebook, you can use hashtags, but you should use them more sparingly. If you use too many, that actually does something with the algorithm, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for your post to be seen. So next, we'll talk a little bit about Twitter. This is more of a forum where you can post something like every day. And the one thing that I want to stress when it comes to Twitter is using visuals, especially if you have pictures of yourself doing things on campus, like petitioning or canvassing or making announcements in classes. If you're doing any other kind of visibility work on campus, Twitter is a great place to post that. I really like this series of photos where these students who did a voter registration drive with an organization that we work with often just had a dog, and students always stop for dogs. So I'm sure that the more people see that, the more people want to register to vote. Again, this is a place where you would use hashtags and tag your campus. And Twitter is a great way to kind of engage with university accounts. Often your sustainability office will have an account, the main university account. Sometimes departments have accounts. So often a good idea to kind of follow those accounts, and often they'll follow you back. And finally, Instagram. Now, this is a forum that I don't really use all that often, but it's certainly pretty important. It's something that relative to Twitter, certainly, it's something that students use quite a bit more. So you can use, in a lot of cases, the pictures that you take won't necessarily be formatted to Instagram. I'm sure the people on this call know more about using Instagram than I do, but you can use things like Canva or Afterlight to actually format photos if they won't necessarily fit into a square. This is also a chance to use a lot of different hashtags. So, when you're running like a 100% campaign, you can also use things like hashtag climate change, hashtag renewable energy, really as many relevant hashtags as possible to try and get as many, attract as much visibility as possible. It's also a great idea to kind of repost these Instagram posts to Facebook and Twitter as well. And then just a few more tips. So the first tip here, whenever you're posting a link, especially on something like Facebook or Twitter, you want to let the actual headline of the link speak for itself. So often there'll be this kind of preview card that pops up whenever you insert a link with the headline included. And you want to use kind of like the 2 lines that you have in your actual post to react to that headline and not repeat it. Something like your preview card when you post on Twitter could say something like, the IPCC has given us 12 years in their new report to actually deal with climate change. And your post could say something like, this is a huge deal. We really need our university to commit to 100% renewables in order to actually set an example and get us on the right track. And again, in the same vein, you want to be tying the messaging. Any part of the article that you're posting, you want to tie any message that resonates well with your campaign. You want to reference that in your post wherever possible. Humor is not necessarily something that can be taught or I can teach you, but certainly mixing up the tone, not just saying we need to do this, we need to do that. Using your campaign talking points every single time you post. People will start to their eyes will start to glaze over if they just kind of look at too many of those. And using humor whenever possible is a great way to actually get people to stop. And then just tagging as many people that are relevant as possible. Maybe there's a local environmental nonprofit that does work in your college town, and you want to bring this campaign to their attention. They could be a good coalition partner to work in the future. Maybe there is a politician in your state, a state senator or a state legislator, that is sponsoring a bill for 100% renewable energy. or even just not necessarily 100%, but some kind of clean energy bill. You could tag them, and of course tagging your school. I can't stress that enough. Finally, the last thing that I'll say about best times to post, if you have someone who's in charge of updating your social media accounts, there's no real magical time to post that will instantly increase your engagement. But it does help to be generally conscious of the times when your audience might be the most likely to plug into social media. And obviously this is a little bit different for college campuses. But generally, posts around 8 or 9 a.m. might catch people who are, first walking to class or just kind of scrolling through feeds in their train or bus. For a college campus, depending on when your first classes start, like for instance, at my school at Tufts, that might be more like 10 to 10:30. Most of our classes started at 10:30. Mid-afternoon, between 12 to 1 p.m. or 12 to 3 p.m. in between classes, or if people are at work, that's around the time when they start to, their brain starts to turn to mush and they start to browse social media in between breaks. And then in the evening, 5 or 6. I think 5 or 6 p.m. That actually, that's a time that works for both people who work and people who go to school. Generally, class gets out. The last classes start to peter out around like 4:30, and people start to really browse social media around 5 or so. I used to help run our campus paper, and that was certainly true for whenever we would post our articles on social media. Around 5 o'clock was a really great time to catch a lot of students. So morning, mid-afternoon, and evening. Obviously, there's not a magic time, and you'll have to work out what works for your own school. But important to kind of think about those when you're thinking about when do I post, what do I post.